Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1 Joanne Davey. We warmly welcome Mr Dennis Lyons, representing the Naval Association of Australia. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives to us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Albert James Carter. Albert Carter was born in 1895 to Robert and Hannah Carter in Geelong, Victoria. The family moved to the town of Bacchus Marsh, where Albert attended school. After leaving school, Albert became a butcher and lived in the suburbs of Melbourne. In October 1916, Carter travelled to the Melbourne Showgrounds and volunteered for service in the Australian Imperial Force. In mid-December, he embarked on board the transport ship Medic and arrived in England in February 1917. Having fallen ill on the on-board ship, Carter spent several months in hospital recovering. He began training in England in May 1917 and sailed for France in mid-July. There, Carter joined his unit, the 37th Australian Infantry Battalion, which was in the north, near the border with Belgium. By this time, British commanders had shifted their focus towards the town of Ypres in Belgium. The 37th Battalion was one of the many British and Dominion units that was to take part in the campaign to capture this town and its surrounds. Following some early Australian victories at Menin Road and Polygon Wood, the 37th Battalion sought to capture the Broodcinder Ridge. At 6 a.m. on the 4th of October 1917, the men of the battalion went over the top, charging across no man's land towards the German trenches. Private Carter's fate during the attack is not entirely clear. Records suggest that he was struck by machine gun fire and wounded. A later court of inquiry found that he had been killed on this day. Albert Carter was 22 years old. His name is inscribed on the Menin Gate Memorial at Ypres, along with more than 54,000 British and Commonwealth soldiers who were killed in Belgium and whose burial locations are unknown. Because he has been reported wounded, Carter's family in Australia did not receive confirmation that he had been killed until May 1918. There was further pain for his grieving parents. His personal effects had been sent home, bound for Australia on the steamship Barunga, when the ship was torpedoed by a German submarine off the coast of Cornwall in July 1918. British ships were soon on the scene and managed to rescue all aboard, but Carter's personal effects, and those of about 5,000 other Australian soldiers who died on the Western Front, were lost. Private Albert James Carter is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Albert James Carter, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we the left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.